dispensing medications, I've realized something. I've noticed that none of my patients are getting better. And actually, my patients are getting sicker. I've been a pharmacist now for almost 30 years.
Wow.
If anybody sees the podcast, implement it. It's one, two, three, easy. Before I came onto the podcast, I remember having a regret. And my regret is that I didn't push harder when I first got the device.
Whether they'll be able to integrate in their practice.
Well, they need to start now. Every 6 months to a year or so, some 2 years, they're getting diagnosed with another chronic illness and they're getting more medications.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to RaDoTech Health Technologies. And we're today with Sandy, a pharmacist, a pharmacy owner, and one of the pioneer bringing digital wellness into the pharmacy practices through RaDoTech. Sandy, let's start from beginning. Tell us a bit about your background, who you are, what you do, and how your journey as the pharmacist began.
I'm Sandy. I have a background in nursing, a registered nurse. My journey as a pharmacist began through nursing, actually. I was a IV nurse and then I became a home infusion nurse, giving IVs to people at home and also in nursing homes. I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I've been a pharmacist now for almost 30 years.
Wow.
I started in New York and I graduated back in 1996. I've worked all areas of pharmacy. I've worked in home infusion. I've worked in hospital. And now I'm here in Fort Lauderdale for the past 20 years in the retail setting. Very tough setting because, as a business owner, you have to generate your own income and that's where it is now. So over the years, though, dealing with customers in the retail setting, dispensing medications, I've realized something. I've noticed that none of my patients are getting better. And actually, my patients are getting sicker because every 6 months to a year or so, some 2 years, they're getting diagnosed with another chronic illness and they're getting more medications. So it leaves you feeling very defeated. You don't feel rewarded. So that's what led me to the more holistic type of approach and trying to realize that my true passion wasn't in traditional healthcare and traditional pharmacy, but actually to hone in on wellness and finding the actual root cause and using functional medicine and supplements and herbal remedies and lifestyle to actually support people to get healthy.
Great. Seems like you're on just on a journey, but really on the mission.
I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission. It hasn't been easy, and you have to be willing to take that step. And a lot of pharmacies that I've spoken to have that issue. It's hard to take that. It's a bridge. You got to cross the bridge.
Oh, yes. And nowadays, the personal health is the most important thing because it's harder to recover and even harder to keep it. So the preventive measures and in-time actions playing a huge role in the quality of life. Pretty much doesn't matter what the age of the person now. We used to think that the younger being the healthier. Now we do see that sometimes that's not even the case, unfortunately. And earlier we start the care for personal health, the better it is, the more chances for a longer and more active life.
Absolutely.
So, can you share your first discovery of a RaDoTech, how you started looking for anything like that in this field? And did you believe in the RaDoTech right away, or it took some time to wrap your mind around it?
Well, it's a story. So what happened was that I have a close cousin, a first cousin, who was sick, back and forth to the doctor, had some GI issues and was on GI and autoimmune issues and was like on a roller coaster and a hamster wheel with trying to get well and had seen numerous doctors and specialists and wasn't getting any better. So he came to me and I couldn't help him because, well, initially, I couldn't help him initially because I didn't have a wellness tool. I had no way of checking to see what was going on. So I knew of a herbalist that had a biofeedback mechanism and I referred him to her. And I said to him, don't purchase any supplements, don't buy anything, just get the test done, bring it to me, and I'll try to interpret it, and then I'll guide you from there. Well, he didn't do that. He went to her, he had the test done, she gave him her interpretation, and she gave him a lot of supplements to, help. Turns out that a lot of the supplements were contraindicated with the illness that he had and some of the medications that he was on. So we actually had to throw out some of the supplements. And it was at that exact moment and that day that I realized that I had a gift, I had the education, I had the background, I had the experience. And why did I send my cousin to this person? I sent them because I didn't have this tool, and that was the only missing link. So I knew then that I needed to get some type of tool, a wellness tool, a biofeedback tool. And I started searching on the internet, and I found you. And that's how this all started. So that was a pivotal moment for me when I realized that I could help somebody using some kind of biofeedback technology. And when I discovered you and I finally ordered the machine, the device, you know, that was just the pivotal moment. And at first, yes, there was some skepticism. I wondered how could this small device give this type of insight. So I used it on a couple of family members and friends, and then eventually some customers, the patients in the pharmacy. And then what I started finding is that the device was matching a lot of their labs. It was matching a lot of the information that they were giving me. It was matching the symptoms that they were having. And then I realized that the device was accurate, and it gave me the confidence to start using the device more, to include more of my customers. And then eventually I started charging for it and monetizing it. And that's where we are. That's where we are now.
Great. Were there any surprises along the way with the aha moments?
There were many. The most profound thing for me was that it was so visual, and it was almost like a tangible look into the body. They could feel it, they could see it. It was visual, and they believed it. And that connection, between me, the care, the experience, the device, the technology, and whatever they were experiencing, it all gelled together, and it made them more autonomous. And that full autonomy and awareness made all the difference. And with that came trust. And it was just a whole, it was more of a whole experience rather than a transaction that I'm accustomed to, filling the medication, checking it, putting it in the bag, charging the patient. This was more of an experience. A more holistic approach rather than transactional, which we as pharmacists and a lot of other practitioners may as well be accustomed to.
Great. A lot of times we get feedback about a RaDoTech user from RaDoTech users that the first impression sometimes that it's like a so visual and so good it can be really true. Even knowing we are living in a 21st century and we have a digital everything around us, but still we do look at our health kind of old-fashioned way. So, what was your angle on that? Did you have the disbelief moments or doubt moments about how that could be like a small device, so much data, and you get it all in your hands within like 2 minutes?
Initially, yes, but as I continued to use it, every time I used it, it was either accurate in terms of the person knew that they had these issues, and I was just confirming them and giving them more credibility to go and take action, or they didn't know, but I referred them to their provider, and then they would go and have some other test done or a lab test done, and then they would come back and agree with me and say, well, wow, you were the first person that gave me this insight or told me that I needed to check on this. So eventually, there were more and more and more of those people coming back or calling me, and it became evident that the device is accurate, and I just continued to use it. And it also fostered the assurance in me that, I was doing the right thing and that this was helping people and also helping my practice.
So it's not just claims of RaDoTech; it's the evidence based on the dozens and dozens of patients.
Exactly.
Great. Well, that's the best way to go about any technology. Slowly, step by step, with a caution, but then gaining the trust, and that's what we value, what we work for. Every pharmacy sees certain common health concerns. What are the most typical issues your clients faced, and how did the RaDoTech help you address them more efficiently?
So my client base here are mostly 65 and older. So a lot of them, and even if they're not, to be quite honest with you, we see in this community, we see a lot of people with chronic illnesses. The chronic illnesses are not just isolated by themselves. They come with a slew of other issues. They have energy issues, they have poor circulation, they have bladder issues, they have digestion issues, they have sleep issues. So, before I used the RaDoTech, these symptoms and being able to help these people, it was almost non-existent, to be quite honest with you, other than giving them the medications and hoping that they would work. Now that I have the RaDoTech, I don't have to just rely on my professional judgment to get into the functional space. Now I can use the RaDoTech to bridge to the functional space, because I don't have to just rely on my professional judgment and the client's symptoms or what they think they're feeling. I can actually use it. I can see the snapshot of what's going on. They can see the snapshot of what's going on. It has bar graphs and data to actually show you exactly what's going on, to the extent that it can even tell you which kidney has the problem. So if a patient goes to their physician and they get their labs back, their kidney function may appear normal. They might not even know that something's going on with one kidney. And we actually had something similar that we'll get to later, where somebody was able to identify just that. But basically, just having that snapshot and having them, being able to get this information almost immediately is profound. And they're they know that insurance doesn't cover some of these wellness type of visits, and they're surprisingly willing to self-pay just to get this insight. And they're open to paying for the test, they're open to paying for the consultation, they're open to paying for the supplements, they're open to paying for the visit to come back for follow-up.
Great. What does it do for their confidence and their ability to get better in their health issues?
I think that the first thing that they notice is that it's so quick and easy and non-invasive. And you know, I'm here with them doing it, so spending some time with them, and they feel, immediately they can get their results, and it's a visual that keeps them engaged and motivated. And just from my perspective of, what I was doing before, I myself and they feel that they're here not just to get medications dispensed to them, but it's a more personalized, customized, preventative, like wellness consultation, and it's well received. It's well received.
Great. So they finally see that somebody finally on their health journey path, seeing them for them and getting a tailored information based on their, but not just general recommendation and medicine, but really tailored approach.
Yeah, and they're starting to see the pharmacy not just a place to come and get medication, but it's a wellness hub, and they can come and see their progress. They can come back and have a follow up and have another test and have a follow up to see, you know, their improvement after making changes with their lifestyle, their diet, supplements. It's not just about coming in to pick up prescriptions anymore.
Wellness hub. What a transformation for a pharmacy, just from a place to get the medical prescription to a really place that can transform the care for health. You're truly a pioneer of a wellness in this area. Very glad to have you here. So, could you maybe share a few stories that really stayed with you, where RaDoTech made a tangible difference in the for the clients?
There's several. Let me think. Well, there was a 23-year-old, for example, who looked in excellent physical condition. And I remember saying to him, "You work out, like what do you do?" He was buff, okay? And he said, "Well, I'm in the army." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "And what brings you here? How did you find me?" So he said he found a flyer at a restaurant, and he came in to get this digital checkup. I said, "Wow." I said, "I don't see people your age very often. Are you feeling sick? Is everything okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, I've been here on vacation and I kind of overdid some stuff. And now I have to go back to, I guess, his base, right? But I
Mhm.
didn't really know what that meant. But I didn't want to ask too many questions. And I said, all right, no problem. We'll do the test. And we did the test, and everywhere was green, which means, showing normal on the test, except his lungs. Both lungs were blue. And I thought it was very strange. So I said to him, this is normal. Blue is abnormal. Blue is below normal. And, both lungs are showing below normal. Is something going on? Like, are you asthmatic? Do you smoke? Da, da, da. And he said no. And then I said, well, something is going on. And then he said to me, well, that's kind of the reason that I came in. Not supposed to be vaping, but I am vaping. I was vaping while I was here, and I think it had like a bad effect on me. And now, like, when I'm trying to exercise and run and get back into shape to go back to the base, I'm feeling like, short of breath. And I said, well, it's probably the vaping, and you really need to get off of it like as soon as possible. And I gave him some advice, and I gave him some supplements, and I gave him an incentive spirometer to exercise his lungs, and I gave him some exercises to do. And that was earlier in the day. I don't remember what time he came in. And he said, my mom needs this. And we were closing at 5, but like quarter to 5 or close to 5 o'clock, here he comes back with his mom.
Wow.
And her situation was also, a little profound because she had been going back and forth to the doctor for a pain in her left side
Mhm.
that was just sporadic, coming and going, coming and going. And every time she went to the doctor, he said it's probably just gas. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Well, I said to her, well, you need to go back to the doctor and let him know you're still having this pain and that you had another test and it showed up, somewhere near your lung on the left side, and see if the doctor can listen to your lungs properly the next time. You might need a chest x-ray. I said to her, you also probably need to go get a mammogram. And she came back. She called about a month later to say that she had some type of pneumonia,
Mhm.
and that wasn't picked up. And when she went back to the doctor, she asked him to listen properly to both lungs, and they found out that she actually had pneumonia. So just with that one family, son and mother, it was evident that the device was accurate, and he was so impressed. He brought his mom back. We had another client that was a middle-aged lady, and she also found the flyer somewhere and came in. And most people, I don't really ask them too much about their medical history before, because I want to tell them what the device is showing, and I want them to realize that it's legitimate. So, she came in, I explained what I was going to do, and we chit chatted a little bit. And she was very kind of reserved. She wasn't really talking that much. So at the end, everything was green, and except her intestines. The
Mhm.
intestines were small, and large intestines were blue. And I thought, wow, that's unusual, because of all the people that have been testing, I've never seen that where, both small and large was like one big area that was blue. And I said to her, this is showing that, there's something going on with the small intestine and the large intestine. And it seems like, you need some support there. Are you experiencing anything like constipation, abdominal pain, anything? And she just started crying. She bowed her head down, and she just broke into tears. And I said, what's wrong? She said, well, I just don't want to get colon cancer. And I said, well, why do you think you'll get colon cancer? And she said, well, I'm a breast cancer survivor, and they used tissue and muscle from my abdomen to reconstruct my breasts. And ever since then, I haven't been able to have like normal bowel movements, and I only go to the bathroom like once a week. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, well, we got to get this taken care of. And it may be a simple fix. I said to her, you probably need to have more fiber, eat more fruits with fiber, drink more water. You might need a stool softener. You may need to see a GI specialist. And I said to her, maybe just some simple abdominal exercises, sit ups. And she said, I can't do exercises. They took out the muscles in my abdomen. And I said, I never heard of that. You know what I mean? I've known a lot of people to have reconstructive surgery, and I've never heard of them using muscle from the abdomen. I've known that they've taken muscle from the gluteal area in the back near the buttocks, and it really had been affecting her, and this has been going on for years. And we were able to, try to get some solutions for her and still encourage her to exercise. And I was able to tell her how much water she needs to be drinking. And she mentioned that she has smoothies. And I told her the smoothies actually destroy the fiber and that she needed to eat the fruits and vegetables whole. And, I was able to help her a little. And she bought a supplement that was like works like a colonics kind of supplement to do a washout every once in a while. We were able to talk about pre and probiotics, so I was able to help her. So that was profound.
Wow, yeah, that's a very unusual case. Usually they partially take the muscle, not the whole one, not to the
Right.
point where a person can't really exercise. Why it's crucially important, actually, before anybody would undergo any surgery, even in such a harsh situation with the cancer, best to really get all the role plan from a doctor. Doesn't matter that, or get a extra consultation from a professional experienced person that can help you really pinpoint or confirm the roadmap of what's going to be done, because sometimes the remedy is worse than the initial illness. And that's, God bless this person that she came to you in time, and I'm sure I really hope she'll get better. And that's a astonishing story. Thank you, Sandy,
Yeah.
for sharing it.
So yeah. So those are a few. There's many more, but we don't have time to go through everybody.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. We'll probably will do another podcast about the cases and the stories. Just go through them. I'm sure there'll be a lot of eye-opening situations for our viewers to realize, and maybe somebody will correlate with one of the cases, and that maybe save our life-changing situation for your lives. So stay tuned for our future videos also. So
Looking
the
forward to that.
say again.
Looking forward to that.
For sure, for sure. Pharmacists have always been on the front line of community health. So, how do you see digital wellness tools like RaDoTech changing the role of our pharmacists in the future?
Well, we continue to be the most accessible healthcare professionals. I don't think that we get enough recognition for that. We're just seen as pill pushers, but most pharmacists have extensive education. Most go to school for, 5, 6, some 7 years. And I think it's definitely an underutilized health practitioner. We're definitely underutilized, but slowly and surely, it's evolving. We're becoming more clinical. Some states have even given provider status to pharmacists where they're considered to be providers and they can write certain prescriptions and actually charge and bill for Medicare and other insurance companies for certain services, but not all states are at that point yet. So we're not limited to just filling prescriptions anymore. And tools like the RaDoTech are definitely in the forefront of making that change. Okay, making that change to give us something that can help us, again, cross over that bridge. So it'll allow us to move from a product based type of, I can't even call it care, product based dispensing, where it's something that's just tangible, to a more solution based functional medicine type of wellness, helping people to understand that their bodies, are changing all the time and that we can help them to understand that one body system affects the other and helping them to better, more autonomous and take better care of themselves. This device also helps us to communicate better with the patients. It builds trust. Clients see that we're not just focused on dispensing the medication and counseling them about the medication, but that we're focused on them as a whole. And for me, that's been amazing. It's been game changing because they trust you more, they spend more time with you, they are willing to self pay for the services, which I have never seen in my 30 years of being a pharmacist. So it's game changing. It's a win win for everybody. Digital wellness, like the RaDoTech device, I think empowers pharmacists to bridge that gap between the traditional care and what we really need to focus, which is prevention and wellness, giving people personalized guidance. And there is nothing more fitting to be able to do this that I have ever seen. And I've been in healthcare now for 40 something years. I've been a pharmacist for 30 years. I have never come across anything that can personalize and customize wellness to this extent. I mean, it's spot on every time. To me, it's the future. It's the future, just like everything else, AI and everything digital. It's the future of definitely wellness. It's the future of healthcare and being able to combine the technology, the science, the education, the prevention, and the wellness together. It's bringing it all in focus very easily, may I add, very easily.
Wow, that's a very, very powerful feedback. How do people react to the idea and understanding? Because before, that's again, we're getting a lot of feedback that it used to be a very hard experience to get a message across to a patient to explain that one system affects the other and what they do with their food intake can affect their lungs and their urinary tracts and other parts of the body. With RaDoTech, how's that now transforming your ability to get the message across, not just to say something like shout out loud and no feedback, but do people now pay attention to the information? How serious they starting to take the information about their health?
Well, it starts before them. It starts with me. So with the RaDoTech, just being able to see the image, okay, and how everything is connected. Yeah, we took anatomy, we know this stuff, but that's where it started with me being able to see. The gallbladder is really right beside the liver. And if you have liver problems, you could have the gallbladder problem. And there's the connection with the stomach and the intestine. And this is affecting this. So it started with me just like reacquainting myself with all the systems of the body. And through doing the test on different people, seeing the connection, the immediate connection between what they're experiencing and what I'm seeing on the schematic image and the color codes showing that one is affecting the other, and just having it right there to be able to say to the person, you see, though, so this is here and this is connected and this is affecting this. And it's just a conversation and it's just bringing it all together. So I believe that if I want to explain what I want to say properly, is that it just connects the dots for everybody, and it connects the dots in a very quick way, in a very simple way, in a very non-invasive way. It doesn't interrupt the workflow too much. It's just enough time to be able to see the client, get the results to them, explain everything, make the recommendations, and schedule a follow-up. And it's seamless. It's seamless.
Great. How do people react? You mentioned earlier that before you even listening to their story and their condition, you run the RaDoTech test and you tell them what you see beforehand before they share the information with you. How do people react to that experience?
For most people, I don't ask them anything before they come in. I try not to ask too many questions, and I really don't want to know, because I want to know every time, and I'm not taking statistics and plotting it on a graph, but I want to know every time, is it me or is this thing spot on again? So I don't ask many questions, but I'm able to say to them, based on the pancreas, are you diabetic or are you pre-diabetic? And they'll say, yeah. And I'm like, okay. Based on the schematic diagram, it's showing the kidneys blue. Did the doctor mention anything to you about your kidneys having any problems? Some will say yes, some will say no. But for the ones that say no, I'll say nothing, never mentioned anything ever. And every once in a while, they'll say, the only thing he said was that I need to drink more water. I said, oh, that's mentioned in the kidney. Some doctors don't like to mention that there's a problem with the kidney for whatever reason. And that's a clue that something's going on. And I want you to bring your labs to me. And then they'll come back with the labs and it'll be right there.
Wow.
They're believers without me trying to make them believers. They're seeing it for themselves.
That's a very transforming experience for people. Again, once they see that you know about their health, not even asking about their health more, then they realize there's to it, and their caring doctor is not unfolding all the information. Then people get really interested in, first of all,
And
getting better, and then getting a chance to improve.
And for pharmacists and other wellness professionals, I just want to make this point. It's a whole new level of service, and it offers, you know, the self-pay components with the consultations, the supplement guidance, and definitely stronger client relationships. And integrating the RaDoTech doesn't replace traditional care. That's not the goal. It supplements it and it enhances it, and it fosters a better client relationship. And in my opinion, it just future proofs my practice because I'm less worried now about the reimbursement rates because I know that I have this backup. The patients are less worried about their insurance not covering something because they know that they have this option where they can come and they can get this for a nominal price. And I mean, excellent insight and professionalism.
Great. Once we start talking about the other pharmacist, what would you really suggest to the not maybe only pharmacists but wellness practitioners who are considering to expand or considering RaDoTech but haven't taken the step yet, having doubts or worrying whether they'll be able to integrate in their practice?
Well, they need to start now. Just today, before I came onto the podcast, I remember having a regret. And my regret is that I didn't push harder when I first got the device and that I didn't advertise it the way I'm doing now, making flyers, telling every customer about it, putting um, little flyers in patient bag stuffers, putting it on my IVR on my voicemail. So the only thing I can say is that's my regret. And I feel badly for anybody who has put us off so far and not, purchase the device to start because they're going to have the same regret once they get it in a year or two or whatever they get it. If I had started earlier, I would have been well on my way now. I'm actually being recognized now as that person in the community that people can come to get help. And I could have been that person a few years ago, but it's just the word is just starting to get around now. I could have been
Uh,
ahead of the game.
Great. Based on your experience, will it be correct to say that you're now not one of many, but actually in your community, you're one of a kind, the person to go to with the really feedback and tailored information on the functional health?
There are other people, some of them don't have the expertise. When I was telling you that my cousin went to somebody else and it turns out he got the test, got the recommendations, got the supplements, but they weren't appropriate for him. So I feel like, pharmacists and other health professionals, they would be more, it would be more appropriate and it would be, I would encourage them to get the device and start right away and, create this new type of service in their practice.
Also, for you as the wellness expert and a pharmacist with such a great and many years of experience and a background, how well the transformation when the people come to you with the RaDoTech test in dynamics, because RaDoTech can also be owned as the home wellness and home monitoring device. So if the person comes to you with the series of tests taking over a few days or few weeks, how that helps you to pinpoint their problem issues.
Do you mean them having the device at home? What is it you're referring to?
Yeah, well, if they have the device at home and they do the test on the like in over a few weeks, and then they come back to you with the information when the test been taken and morning, day, before meal, before exercise, after exercise.
Well, that would be good because we would have more data to support what's helping you feel better, what's making you worse, what's making these changes. So I think if they had the device at home, you know, it would be better data and they would be able to manage their illness or whatever they're managing in a more comprehensive day-to-day way. So that would be great. It would also help practitioners to be able to see people remotely and still be able to charge for their services, to be able to decipher the information and interpret the information and make recommendations. It would be similar to the remote care that they're trying to do now with devices like a blood pressure machine and checking somebody's weight and pulse. I feel like, it's not replacing healthcare, but this wellness tool gives a lot of data, and it can really help somebody to, and help a provider to help that person at home to make changes and to do better with whatever the illness.
So the next question is, looking ahead, do you believe the future of health is already here with tools like RaDoTech?
It's at my pharmacy. The future is here right now. I can't speak for other pharmacies, but the future in pharmacy is here at this pharmacy right now at Caduceus Pharmacy. Healthcare is shifting. Healthcare is shifting from treatment to empowerment, is shifting to value-based care. I think a lot of people are still going to their providers and really not getting value, because people will come here and I'll say, okay, you went to the doctor. Did they check this? Did they check that? They don't know. Did they do labs on this? Did they say this? They don't know. Did you see your labs? I don't know. They don't know. How is that helping the person that's supposed to take care of themselves if they don't know? And I'm not necessarily putting the onus on the provider, but there is a gap and a miscommunication, and it's huge, and it's evident, and it's everywhere, and it needs to be fixed, because nobody's getting that value. Most people are not getting that value. The people that I'm seeing here that came here for the test didn't get that value, or they wouldn't be here going, wow, wow, I didn't know. They wouldn't be here getting that. All of these people have a primary care doctor. All of them have been seen recently. All of them have labs that they can't interpret. They don't know what they mean. You know, I have patients that are diabetic who have never been told that white rice is bad for you, that white bread is bad for you, that a bagel is bad for you. I have people who have problems with their kidneys, that they're in stage 1 or stage 2 chronic kidney disease, and they have never been told. They've never been told. They don't know. So my vision for every community pharmacy is for them to become more of a wellness hub rather than a dispensary, a place where people can come in and check in. They can get a digital checkup. They can learn more about their organ systems. They can learn more about balance. They can learn more about how every organ and every body system is connected to the next. They can learn how drinking enough water can help. They can learn how monitoring, the labs that they got, and they can come back and have another test, taking some supplements for the labs that they have received. You know, they can learn a lot of things from a pharmacist. And I think that this RaDoTech tool just facilitates that in the most amazing way. It's simple, it's non-invasive, it doesn't take much time out of the work day, and it's accurate. And it's, a lot of people, they, even if it's a CAT scan, they don't want to be exposed to radiation. This is just non-invasive, safe, quick, easy, accurate. It's everything that we need to implement it easily. And that's the key. Easy implementation is what it's been easy for me to implement it. The onboarding is literally, I'm going to say 2 hours, but it can be done in an hour. You could literally learn to use this device and be testing somebody within an hour or 2.
And another important thing that we want to share with you is that if you're not near the Ascendis pharmacy, you always can get a RaDoTech and get a remote consulting based on the real data, real evidence based tests from a RaDoTech, and get a remote consulting from Sandy, and get the support from us, from RaDoTech company. You can get objective analysis of your wellness and health in a dynamics, how you start the day, how you get through the day, and you can get a professional advices and suggestions from a very experienced person that truly cares for your health. Sandy is. And Sandy, very glad to have you today. Thank you. The last question is, what was your biggest surprise with the RaDoTech on this journey?
I think the biggest surprise was the one time that I thought that the device was wrong. The one time that I thought it was wrong was actually with my own daughter. Now she's 18, and I expected her results to just be all green, but the liver was blue. So at first, I just thought, okay, it's wrong sometimes. And then it was on my mind, and I kept saying, "Oh, what if it's not wrong? What if I probably need to check to see if something's going on?" And we did check. We did take her to the doctor. And luckily, any, it wasn't a big difference, but it was her bilirubin was slightly elevated. And I would never have known had I not done the tests on her just for literally fun. I was just doing it, for fun. Just let me check you. And we did find something. And thank God it's, something that can be taken care of. And it's just slightly elevated, but it's still better to know now than for a problem to progress. So that's one. And there was also a pharmacist who came here to have the test done. And I didn't know at the time that he's had some medical issues, but one of the organs was showing blue. And I said, "Do you know if you're having any issues with this?" And he said, "Well, a doctor had told me once that I need to like keep an eye on this. And I haven't really been back to the specialist." And I said, "All right, it's time to go." And he went, called me back and told me that, he followed up and there are some issues that he needs to take care of. So, it's just so comforting to know that, you know, you can be helping somebody. It's rewarding to know that this device and the implementation of this device at this pharmacy is helping this community behind me. The technology and me being able to incorporate education and the experience I have by honing in on this technology is really redefining this space that I'm in. It's redefining me as a professional. It's redefining this pharmacy. It's redefining the community and the service that I'm providing to the community. And it's really what I think is needed to attain a more healthy community and wellness. And I'll just leave it at that.
Great, great. Well, Sandy, thank you so much for being here today with us. And how people can find you and your pharmacy.
Well, we are it's Caduceus Pharmacy. We are in the city of Lauderdale Lakes, which is in the Fort Lauderdale area. It's at 4361 North State Road 7, which is Route 441. The pharmacy phone number is 954 797 8077. And you can also find us on Instagram at Caduceus Pharmacy. We also have a Facebook page, and you can also get in touch online with RaDoTech. And we're here.
Yes, we'll put the information under the video, and dear friends, you can always contact the RaDoTech at radotech.com, and we'll provide you all the information. And you can always share and send your request, and the test will connect you with the professional, with Sandy, to get your test reviewed and get a real objective feedback on what's going on, and suggestions what you should really ask your doctor about, that your doctor probably too busy to we're with all the respect and love and care for the doctors, but sometimes they're too busy to go into the details. And that's when the RaDoTech helps you to really pinpoint and understand what you should be aware of, because it's your health, and you the only one that's actually responsible for it. So we wish all our viewers the best health, the best life, and the best experience. Sandy, would you like to add anything?
Just to add to the professionals, the practitioners that are out there listening, if anybody sees the podcast, implement it. It's 1, 2, 3, easy setup, easy system, easy onboarding, great support, and it is a fantastic device to incorporate into your practice as a wellness tool. It's amazing, and your customers are going to like it, and it's going to add a lot of value.
Great. Thank you. Stay tuned, subscribe, look for other videos that will be rolling out soon. And any questions, anything you want to know more, we're always open to share the information. Contacts through a website, through email, through WhatsApp with our company. We'll be glad to communicate, provide you the information, and help you to improve your health and get ahead.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be a part of this journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.